Start with that testimony on Capitol Hill featuring Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who once again faced questions about the Trump campaign and alleged ties to Russia. We'll get to what he does and does not remember in just a moment. But first,
wasn't it fascinating, actually, that Jeff Sessions actually stepped up yesterday and did what our guest said he might do, and that is be part of a Justice Department that pushes back on the president trying to influence?
Well, that was the notable exchange from that hearing. Sessions squared off with members of the House who are asking him to appoint another special counsel to look into allegations related to Hillary Clinton. Here is an exchange between Sessions and Congressman Jim Jordan.
What's it going to take to actually get a special counsel?
It will take a factual basis that meets the standards of the appointment of a special counsel.
And it sure looks like the FBI was paying the author of that document, and it sure looks like a major political party was working with the federal government to then turn an opposition research document, the equivalent of some National Enquirer story, into an intelligence document, take that to the FISA court so that they could then get a warrant to spy on Americans associated with President Trump's campaign. That's what it looks like. And I'm asking you, doesn't that warrant, in addition to all the things we know about James Comey in 2016, doesn't that warrant naming a second special counsel, as 20 members of this committee wrote you 3.5 months ago asking you to do?
I would say looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
And he turns away. Next question. So, Clint, It's kind of like what Chuck Rosenberg said yesterday. He said, just, you know what? He said, I don't want to be Pollyannish, but there are a lot of men and women in the Justice Department. They've been there a long time. They see political types come and go. And I think they're going to do the right thing. And Jeff Sessions, we're going to criticize him in a minute for forgetting or overlooking another Russian meeting. But at the same time, as I pointed out yesterday, when the Republic needed Jeff Sessions to stand up and recuse himself so justice might have a chance of being blind, he did it.
Yeah, he's done it twice now, and he's in a terrible position. He's got a president that's bullying him, through Twitter, which is not the best way to communicate with your staff. He's being pushed and prodded. He's got now the guys on the Hill who are pushing against him, and he's done the right thing. He did the right thing by recusing himself. He did the right thing by pushing back yesterday. His mandate, the Attorney General's mandate, he's taking a very aggressive stance on crime. The opioid crisis. If we are running around with these DOJ investigations of things that have already been flushed out, that's taking away from what he really wants to achieve. So I thought he did a good job with that yesterday.
You know, Mike, Alex Meek and I were talking before the show, what's the most important story? Because there's some, we could talk about Roy Moore, we could talk about the polls, we could talk about the calling, the Bernie Bernstein or whatever. We could have talked about Sessions forgetting his Papadopoulos meeting. But Meek was like, but hold on, what's the most important thing that happened yesterday?
We're talking about it now.
Right. And we all said at the same time, we had an attorney general that stepped up and did not look like he was not going to allow our president, our Republicans in Congress, turn this Justice Department into some device for a tyrannical autocrat in the making.
Yeah, I mean, we will get to the fact that he's prone to amnesia, General Sessions. We'll get to that.
Issues with his memory.
But on this specific facet of yesterday, what happened yesterday, I mean, this is an attempt, a concerted attempt by the President of the United States and allies within the House of Representatives, clearly yesterday, Jim Jordan, the guy without a coat from Ohio, to turn the Justice Department into just a political property of the President, to inflict politics into the Justice Department, which would affect the morale of the Justice Department. And
well, it would shatter constitutional norms. And again, that's why we're starting with this, because if he listened to Donald Trump,
it would have been
this would shatter constitutional norms and would be chilling.
Yeah, and this thing is all over a Canadian company purchased by the Russians. The purchase, as it involved the United States, was approved by a committee that represented 9 different federal agencies of the government. That's some conspiracy that you hold together. You know, 9 different agencies.
President Trump and his allies have been hammering the Clinton State Department for months, calling the Uranium One deal, quote, Watergate modern age. It's also been covered virtually wall to wall on Fox News in their own special way. But one of Fox's leading journalists, Shep Smith, took on the president's statements, calling them inaccurate in a number of ways, noting that, quote, the Clinton State Department had no power to veto or approve that transaction.
Even so, the accusation is predicated on the charge that Secretary Clinton approved the sale. She did not. A committee of 9 evaluated the sale. The president approved the sale. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission and others had to offer permits, and none of the uranium was exported for use by the U.S. to Russia. That is Uranium One.
So this was 6 minutes of beauty, and we're going to have much more of Shep's surgical debunking of his own network's obsession ahead on the show.
Sam Stein, Shep, actually just...
It was incredible.
Shep undercut this entire conspiracy theory, and it is
yeah.
and
the clown
conspiracy
show
theory, because again, you had all these agencies that had to sign off on it. This wasn't Hillary Clinton saying, give me money and I'm going to take care of this.
Yeah, there was 9 separate entities that did have to sign off on it. As I understand, she had a proxy sign off on it. It wasn't even her that signed off on it. It's difficult to see how you can orchestrate a conspiracy with the input of 9 other agencies.
There are a lot of things to criticize.
Yeah, I mean,
and by the way, this was Barack Obama's administration, an administration that in many quarters had a hostility towards Hillary Clinton. In fact, a lot of people very close to the Clintons, as we all know, had a hostility towards the Clintons. And if
I think so
it wasn't an inside game. Anybody that knows that relationship.
I mean, it's almost silly that we're even trying to debunk it because it's been debunked so many times. But to your point, I think there is a propensity to believe these nefarious things about the Clintons that leads us to these conspiracy fever swamps. And for whatever you think about Jeff Sessions, the ability for him to say, you know what, we're not going to devote resources or time or energy, or at least a hint that, is noble. And it reminded me a little bit of the moment where Obama came in, and this is totally different context, but I just kept recalling this yesterday, where Obama comes in, it's 2009, and there's intense pressure for him to investigate the Bush administration for its authorization of the use of torture. Now that is something that is weighty. There's a legitimate case to be made that they should investigate him. Obama's stance at the time was, I need to look forward, not backwards. We can't, bear the idea of having to have this political seeming investigation so soon into my administration. And he moved forward. And I just kept thinking about that yesterday as Jeff Sessions kept talking about the Clintons.
And that's what we were discussing yesterday. We just can't start a precedent where presidents come into office and immediately go after their predecessors, where they criminalize politics. And yes, there were a lot of things that every president, I'm sure, could go back and investigate from the previous president.
Yeah.
And why this is so short-sighted by the day trader in chief is because if he starts this precedent, and Trump children, listen, you and your father will be investigated by the next Democratic president every day for the rest of your life.
If it even gets there.
There's so much to investigate. It will never stop. So this is a president that not only do the Clintons not want, and America doesn't want, this is a president that the Trumps should not want.
If the investigations that are happening right now bear no fruit, which is a stretch.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.